Hi everyone, today I'm going to share with you my experience with this mid-tower case coming from Phantek known as the XT View. Before I dig deep into it, I'd like to thank Phantek to have provided this case for me to share with you guys, and to our local distro, Cobel, to have done the arrangement on the delivery. This mid-tower case comes in two colors, which is in black or in white. And what I like about this case is budget friendly. And it does come with 3 pre-installed ARGB fans, which you can see at the side. 2 are 120mm, and the rear, another 120. And the style of this case is of a fish tank design. Starting from the side, where you have this tinted tempered glass, is slightly tinted dark. You still can see through. And right at the bottom, you have this mesh panel. And this mesh panel is removable, which I'll show you later. And how this works is that at the bottom of the interior, you're able to place 320mm fans, whereby it will draw cool air from the side. So this is to assist the air going into the case, and for the fans to draw in to the case. Right at the front, another piece of glass panel, which is tempered glass, and the height matches the side, see? And right at the bottom, this is just a plain metal cover. Over at this end, the whole cover is made of metal, whereby you have mesh holes over here, more ventilation for your side 120mm fans to draw air in. At the rear, this is how it looks like. And it has a very unique design. In fact, most of the cases, all these holes over here, right, are of honeycomb. Phantek has chosen a design whereby it looks like brick, see? Inclusive of the PCIe slot. At the top over here, this cutout is meant for your rear motherboard I/O. And at this section over here, where you have the pre-installed 120mm fan, you can relocate the location. Pretty nice. There are a total of 7 expansion slots over here, and more ventilated holes over here. And right at the bottom, this is where your PSU is mounted at. And right below the PSU mounting area, you have this dust filter, which you can pull out, wash it, dry it, and place it back once it's clean. Now as for the measurement of this case, starting from the depth, or should I say the width, from here all the way to here is 440mm. From the top to the bottom is at 500mm. And one thing I love about this case, the elevation of the section over here, whereby the feet and the bottom of the case, it leaves a big gap. See, I can place my whole finger in, where this gap is at 25mm at height. And as for the side, or should I say the front, from here to here is 230mm. There are only 3 panels which you can remove from this case, which is the top tempered glass, the bottom mesh, and the back panel. Starting off from the side, to remove off the tempered glass, you will need to unscrew these 2 thumb screws, which are captive. Then make sure you use both hands, alright, one supporting at the back, one supporting at the front, and you glide towards the back. See, there's a gap here. So when you do this, right, you can just take this tempered glass off. Now, something to be mindful when I show you how to take off the bottom. Now, to take off the bottom mesh, right, there's one screw over here. You will need to unscrew. But please do not take off the bottom mesh when the top tempered glass is on. Make sure this is off. Reason being, right, this tempered glass depends on the bottom mesh as the alignment. So if you remove this, right, this thing might just drop off. So take note on this. Let me just take off the top first. Now, as to take off the bottom, as mentioned to you, there is a screw at the bottom. So once you unscrew this, right, this is the screw, by the way. Do not lose it. Once you've done this, right, you can just glide to the back and to remove. And as mentioned to you, right, the top tempered glass make use of the slot over here to put it in place. And as for the bottom, right, as you can see, there are notch over here. So this notch, right, is aligned to here, here and here. And same goes to the bottom, where you have 3 notches. So I would, when you want to place it back, right, just place it to the notch. Okay. Then put this in place. Make sure all are in. Feel the flushness. Once this is done, right. Okay, I'm going to fasten this to show you how I place the top tempered glass. So once this is in place, to put the top tempered glass, as mentioned to you, right, at the bottom where the mesh is, there are 2 holes, and for the tempered glass you have this 2 notch over here. Then align to it, okay, not towards this way, right, leaving a bit of gap. Align to the bottom, make sure you're supporting the glass, then push it back, then glide it to the front, and this is in place. And make sure to lock the thumb screws to prevent it from falling. Now, something I wish that Phantek will design in a way that having some catch over here instead of touching the glass. So whereby, you know, you just minimum or touch just the front and grab from the side and to pull the tempered glass off. Okay, let me just leave this out. Now as for the rear, or should I say the other side, same thing. 2 thumb screws, same motion as the front tempered glass, just glide. Now see, this is something which I was mentioning about. If the tempered glass area I have this, right, is so much easier. So you can just grab, see, it will be off, and you can just remove off the metal panel. This is how it looks like at the top, where you have this top mesh filter, which is to filter off the dust. This is magnetic. In the event if it's dirty, you can clean it. Once it's clean, right, you can place it back in place. When I remove this, it will expose the top, where you see that these are not true hole. Instead, they follow the pattern like the rear, having a brick style kind of ventilation holes. Now on the top itself, this is where the front I/O are, whereby it has the power switch, the reset switch, the combo headphone microphone jack, a Type-C USB port, a Type-A USB port. And these 2 buttons are meant to control the ARGB effects on your fans and the strip of the case. Yes, that's right, it has a ARGB controller. Speaking of which, in order for all this, I'll start off with this first 5 section. In order for this to function, you will need to connect these connectors that comes with the case. See? Now, in order to control, or should I say, make use of the power switch and the reset switch, you will need to connect this front panel header to your motherboard. Next will be the combo microphone and headphone jack, where you have this HD audio. Make sure this is connected to your motherboard. Followed by the Type-C USB port. You will need to connect this to your motherboard. And for the Type-A USB port, is to be using this to connect to your motherboard. As for the ARGB controller, there are a total of 3 cables, which you can see over here. The first most important connector is this SATA connector, whereby you connect this to your PSU SATA source, where it draws power to provide to your controller, and not only that, to all your ARGB devices like your fans and the ARGB strip in this case. So make sure you connect this to supply power. Next will be this proprietary connector. This is meant for you to connect to your fans, and the other end, if let's say you want to use a standard ARGB connector, you can just continue on with the chain, and all this will be controlled by the controller. In the event, now coming to the third cable, in the event if you choose not to use the controller but to use your motherboard utility, the ARGB utility, you can plug this to your motherboard, which is a standard 3-pin 5V connector, and it will be controlled by your motherboard. And make sure you connect this to your motherboard ARGB header. This is how the interior looks like. You have more than enough space to plug your component in and to feather the adjustment, even with the tempered glass, which is not removable over here. But I wish that for future cases from Phantek, right, hope that they will make this front tempered glass removable, so to prevent PC builders from having accidents like scratching the glass or to shatter the glass. Now, for this case, it allows you to mount a EATX motherboard all the way to ITX, meaning to say EATX, ATX, MATX, and ITX. But be mindful that your EATX, if it's at 280, which is on the spec of this case, which is from the back all the way to here, this is actually the point where it's 280, you might not be able to mount your side fans if you're using an EATX case. And I wouldn't advise you to use an EATX. In fact, you should be using ATX all the way to ITX. Reason being, right, this, besides the bottom for intake of air, this is the only area where you can draw intake of air. So I would say that it's best to leave it as ATX form factor, so that you have both bottom and side intake, and to push the warm air out of the case from the rear and from the top. Now, there are a total of 12 cutouts in this case. You see, there are plenty. 5 at the top, 2 at the side, 4 over here, and 1 over here. Now, you might be wondering, how come there are so many cutouts? Well, there are some cutouts which is prepared for the ASUS or the MSI BTF board, whereby you have connector at the back. So that's why you have all these holes over here. See? So if you are mounting it regularly, right, you will only have total of 5 cutouts, which is here, 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 and the last 2 over here. Oh, should be 6. And this is meant for your GPU cables to be routed. Very thoughtful. I like this. Now, as for the fan arrangement, as you know that there is pre-installed fans, which is 2 over here, 120mm at the side, and the rear is actually 120. At the bottom, you can put 3 more additional 120mm fans. Okay, you can't place 140, and up there you can place 320mm fans. If you fancy to put 140, right, you can only do it at the top, which is 240mm. And as for radiator arrangement, at the side, if you are using ATX motherboard, okay, you can mount a 240 liquid AIO. But when you're mounting a 240 liquid AIO at the side, you can't mount your GPU horizontally. You have to mount it vertically, as you can't plug your graphic card if you have a radiator at the side. So take note on this. Else for the top, you'll be able to mount 240, 280, and 360. For illustration purposes, I've deliberately mounted this ASUS Z790 Maximus Hero, whereby it has a rear VRM heatsink at a height of 45mm tall, and the side VRM heatsink at 40mm tall. And at the top, I have mounted a Lianli Hydro Shift LCD 360. And as you know that the width of the Hydro Shift is not 120, though this is actually 360. In fact, this width is at 130. I'm talking about the width of the radiator. Okay, from here to here is 130. So when I fit this in, right, it's able to fit in. But I have to move this radiator, or should I say the whole AIO, towards the front. Reason being, right, it is hitting the rear VRM heatsink of the motherboard, which is 45mm in height. With this say, right, it's able to cater. Reason being, see, there are still gaps, and I'm still able to mount the block. Not an issue. And if you intend to mount a Liquid Freezer 2 or Liquid Freezer 3 from Arctic, please do not use 280mm, which is this. If you're using a 280, right, whereby you have this 140, you will definitely hit the rear, plus the thickness of the radiator and the fan. As you know that Arctic is well known for its thickness, you can't fit in at all. So make sure that if you want to mount a 280 and with such thickness, right, like the Liquid Freezer 2 or Liquid Freezer 3, make sure that your rear VRM heatsink and your side VRM heatsink is not above 45mm. In fact, it should be around 40mm, then you'll be able to fit in without an issue. And I would advise best not to use a 280 Liquid Freezer 2 or Liquid Freezer 3. If you can, make use of 360, whereby the width is 120 instead of 140. So when this path is narrower, you can fit in with the height, with the height of the radiator protruding out, no problem. Now as for air cooler, from the IHS to the side panel is measuring 190, but I would advise you to keep your air cooler height at 180. For GPU placement, the specs of this case from the PCIe slot all the way to the front is at 415. As you can see here, I'm laying down here is my 4080 ASUS TUF, which has a length of 350 or 351. And when you're placing this GPU horizontally to your motherboard, make sure that the height doesn't exceed 163. In fact, this card is 151, around there. So if you exceed more than 163, right, you have a problem mounting your 12-volt high power cable, because it's quite near to the side tempered glass. So take note on this. And if you want to place radiator at the side, you can't mount it horizontally. You will have to mount it vertically, so to give enough space for your radiator at the side. So take note on this. On the other side of the case, this is where you expose the cable management area. And earlier on, when I mentioned about the front IO cables and the ARGB controller cables, you will need to manage these cables over this section over here. Though there are no Velcro stripes, but there are tons of cable tie points, which you have total of 13, starting from the front, 1, 2, 3, 4, at the bottom 2, at the middle section 2, or should I say 3, followed by the top 2, and the last one. So there are total of 13 cable tie points for you to manage these cables. And of course, you will need to do some alignment, as in like to tuck them nicely, conceal under the pillars and such. This inclusive of your 24-pin, 8-pin EPS, and the GPU cables. You can make use of all these cable tie points. Now at this middle section, this is meant for your 2.5-inch hard disk or SSD to be mounted on this caddy. In order for you to mount the 2.5-inch SSD on this caddy, you will need to remove this caddy. First, unscrew this thumb screw. Once you have done this, pull it out. As mentioned, you can place 3 SSD, and how it's being held, you have to flip over. Coming in the accessory package where you have those screws that is meant for the 2.5-inch hard disk, you will go through these slots over here, or screw holes, so that you will screw them and to hold the SSD. Once you're done, right, you have to place this back, and take note on these 2 notches, where the top, see, there are 2 over here. So align the caddy 2 notch to it, push it up, and to screw in place. This is how the bottom section looks like, where you have the PSU area and the hard disk area. Now before I talk about the bottom section, something to take note. The fan itself, I like to emphasize, it's very sturdy. In fact, it doesn't feel cheap. In fact, some of the case fans, right, it does feel cheap, but this does not. And as you can see, right, see, it's more of a, I would say, semi-premium kind of quality. And there are total of 9 bladers. That's right, there will be tons of air with this fan. And on this fan itself, there are connectors like this, where you have the 4-pin PWM fan connector. You can daisy chain to another. Then this is for the ARGB, where Phantek's have made use of the proprietary kind of connector. And as mentioned to you, right, the controller that I mentioned earlier, see, this is the controller. I mean, comes from the controller. So you will need to clip this to this. And from this end to another fan, and so forth. And there are additional one more cable over here, which you can see on my left. This is the ARGB strip on the case. See, you can connect this to here too. That's in like the connector over here. So you can just daisy chain them all in one to have it controlled by your controller, or to bypass it and to control by your motherboard utility. Now, back to the bottom, I will start off with the PSU area. You can house a full ATX PSU over here, and the length, that's why I deliberately place a chopstick over here. This is the indication from here to the chopstick is at 200mm. So you can have a power supply longer than 200, in fact, can be 210, not an issue, because there are plenty of space over here for you to cable manage your modular cables. Now, for this section over here on my left, this is the hard disk caddy. You're able to place two 3.5-inch hard disks or two 2.5-inch SSD. And before you place any hard disk in, you will need to take this caddy out. Remove the thumb screw, slide it back and take it out, and the whole hard disk cage will come out. So this is where you place the 3.5-inch hard disk at the bottom section, and there are holes over here, which there are screw provided in the accessory to hold your 3.5-inch hard disk. Or you can place another one at the top, as you can see over here, the holes, which is meant for your 3.5-inch hard disk, and you have to turn over again with this slot. Okay, I'm talking about the outer slot, which is this. Make use of the accessory package again that comes with the screw to hold the 3.5-inch hard disk. If you choose to put 2.5-inch, you will need to put it this way. Okay, as you can see, the screw holes are over here. So this is where you place the 2.5-inch hard disk. These are all the accessories that come in this box, and all this over here are packed in Ziploc bag. When you open up the box, you'll be ushered or provided with an instruction manual. This is a leaflet telling you how to install and what are the ARGB button functions and such, and of course the content of all the accessories. And I was mind-blowing with all the accessories. But before I go on to this, right, you are also provided with this RMA attention, where to look for help and such. Now, as I'm saying that, I'm amazed because they pack with lots of stuff, especially the Ziploc. Take a look. A lot of Ziplocs, so you won't worry that you run out. And these are the long screws for your bottom fans. There are a total of 12. 4 PSU screws for you to mount your PSU to the case. Tons of SSD screw and the motherboard screws. The removal tool or the fasten tool for your standoff, which they provide one additional, so you can use this to plug and to use a screwdriver to screw your standoff to the motherboard. And these are for your 3.5-inch hard drive screws to be mounted to the hard disk cage. These are all the ARGB that comes with this case, and over here this is the strip which I'm talking about. So we have the populated fans or pre-installed fans together with the strip, and of course you can control the mode at the top. See, so there are different kinds of patterns that you can choose, or you can have it at still mode, whereby the second button which says color, you can just press and to toggle the different colors. Very nice touch. So if you want pattern again, you can just press this again and you'll be back to the first effect, which is the ARGB rainbow. My thoughts about this case, they are good and bad. I'll start off with the good. Well, this case looks just like some other case design, which is of a fish tank style, but of a mid-tower design. But the thing is, this is a budget case, and they do come with pre-installed fans, and I'll show you the fans. They are very sturdy, it doesn't flex, and best part, when I tested these fans, they draw tons of air. My goodness, at mid speed, I wouldn't know what the speed is, but it just draws tons of air. But the thing that you need to take note is that the side fans, right, I thought these are reverse blade, but they are not. If you want to draw air in, right, you have to flip the fans over where you can see the frame. So this is one of the downside. But overall, I still say that based on the fact that this is a budget case, so it's a good thought that they have brought this strong fans. And another part is that you don't get to see this ARGB strips on a mid-tower case, which is of fish tank style, of any. I can't think of any. Probably Phantek, they have other model, but this is my first time encountering with Phantek, so I'm quite impressed with what they have done over here. The diffusion is very nice. It doesn't break. You can't tell the LEDs. It's very uniform. Now, another part of what I like about this case is the cutouts, as you can see. And for the cutout, again, this is a budget case, but it's been prepared for you to mount any motherboard that has BTF style, meaning to say the connector is at the back, so it's ready for it. This is one bonus. Second bonus is all the cutouts, be it the top or the bottom, right, they are very near to the motherboard. It's so accessible. And when you mount the ATX motherboard, right, okay, this is the place where the ATX is. The gap is just nice to curve your cables. I like this very much. And last but not least, this is a fantastic cutout, because I believe some of you will have this experience whereby it doesn't have this cutout, then you have to, you know, go through your 12-pin high power cable through this or even through the bottom, which makes the cable management very messy. With this, right, I don't have to worry. From the PSU at the bottom, I just route the 12 volt high power cable through this hole over here, and you just connect directly to your GPU. Nice touch, I like it. Now coming for the clause that I do not like. Okay, as I believe that Phantek have designed all this brick ventilator holes, be it the bottom and the top, to form the rigidity of the case. I would somehow prefer that all these are true holes, where you don't have this perforated, or should I say the ventilator holes like this. Cause when I test placing a fan, I mean 3 sets of fans to the bottom, and as you know that the fans are touching to the case itself, then you say this is, let's say this is the fan, it will touch and leaving 100% concentration of drawing of air from the bottom. And when the pressure does that, right, it go through all these slits. This is just like when you whistle, your lips are very close, so it will give certain hum and hiss, which is a bit, I mean, it's not too loud, you still can hear it. So if you would kindly remove all this, right, a true hole, right, that will lessen the noise. But for those of you actually buying this case, right, do not worry. Though I say that it is making noise, what you can do is actually to put spacer, so that your fan is not grabbing to the case, is elevated up with a hole. So when you do that, right, noise will be reduced much more. So do take note on that. Other than that, okay, the next thing that I do not like is in fact the front glass panel. I hope that Phantek will do something about it, as in like to do their future designed, right, to have this removed. Reason being, right, when I mount this fans over here, I got to route my whole arm into the case while I screw the screws at the other side just to hold the fans. And often, right, my arm is hitting this glass, which I worry that it might break also. So it's best that to have, I mean, for my preference, it's best to have this removed. Now there you have it. Hope you guys have actually enjoyed what I shared with you, and I'd like to thank Phantek to have provided this case for me to share with you, and also to Cobell to have done the arrangement on the delivery. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.